Hi guys! How is everybody? So we are, and let me make this clear, we are rewatching Friday's court session. I didn't have power, so if you didn't see it either, or you just want to do a rewatch, this is going to be day 142. We're going to be skipping the breaks and watching on 1.25 speed. You know how it goes. Monday, there's supposed to be court tomorrow. I wasn't sure, but apparently there is court tomorrow. I have my Monday meeting, so like every Monday we'll be starting at noon Eastern time and doing the same thing, skipping the breaks and speeding through all the pauses, the unnecessary pauses. So with that being said, hey to everybody that is here. Hey to Peter, hey to Gwennon. And yes, it is an off day for the Vikings, otherwise I'd be wearing my Vikings jersey. We don't play again until the 20th. And then hey to everybody in the chat, tons of you here early, ready to go. Excited to have you guys here to watch a rewind. And usually when I start late on Mondays, I don't know what happened, but I was trying to share updates from my phone while I had no power from Twitter. So I am a little bit aware of what happens on Friday's hearing. But still there's details that I don't know. So this will kind of be like a half-blind watch for me. Hey to Factual Lie, hey to Anne. And that's right, hit that like button. Amy E, good to see you. I've been missing Club Classy. I was like, I can't watch videos while I have no battery. So I am looking forward to Monday's Club Classy. And Elizabeth Wright, good to see you. Classy gang in the building. Cece noting the spider sweatshirt here. And then there we go. Let's get this playing, you guys. Do I have the volume up? All right. I queued it right up to the beginning.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning.
I appreciate you forwarding to us the ex parte communications you received from Madam DA Fani Willis. Given the sensitivity and the history in this case of ex parte meetings or maybe communications, would you just please request the state? I understand probably what was behind that communications, and of course, it is great for a boss to buck up an underling who has perhaps been attacked or maligned, but I don't believe that, and I don't think the court does either, that the court should have been copied on that communications, especially one that reads maybe more like a campaign ad with a source story in it than anyway, I just don't believe it was appropriate, and I would just ask you to please ask the state to halt any future communications ex parte they might want to have with this court. That's all I have to say. Thank you, Your Honor.
Yeah, it's a shame that the court would even have to say something like that. But can you all please communicate to everybody in the DA's office to not have any sort of ex parte communications with the court? And y'all may not even know what I'm talking about because I don't think either of you was copied on that email, but Ms. Love was. Ms. Hilton, you were as well?
I do, Your Honor, and I don't know, I know exactly what you're talking about. I think we have a different perception of direct communication with the court, but we
But the
make
court
sure
was
that.
copied on it. And it could have been an accident, but
And Your Honor,
it should have been careful.
but the state did not have the initial conversation with the court. That was
No, I
a
know
community member, and it was very much, also was not a direct communication with the court, but we understand the court's perspective. We understand what the court is saying.
Oh, excuse me. I just need to take issue with the fact that it wasn't a direct communication from the court. I'm sorry. Excuse me. Can you hear me now? I didn't mean to act like Max Shart.
Why did he throw the Max Shart shade here? Because he didn't turn his mic on. He said, I didn't mean to act like Max Shart. Doug.
I take issue with any type of suggestion that this was not a direct communication with the court. It went from Madam DA Fani Willis to this court. It was a direct communication to this court.
Yeah,
it was
trying not to
inappropriate.
laugh.
It was praising Georgia's RICO statutes to the court, which again was not appropriate, Your Honor.
Frankly, I think it might be a good idea to print out the email and make it a court's exhibit to this record. But I think what Ms. Hilton was just saying was that the original communication was not from the district attorney's office. The original communication was, I don't know who this person is or where in the world they are, but some member of the world, member of the public, emailing Ms. Love directly, but copying several other people, the court included, because of course our email addresses are a matter of public record. And, you know, I basically ignored it and deleted it. But as you all know, because I forwarded the next communication to everybody, the elected DA, Ms. Willis, made a decision to respond and directed that response to Ms. Love, but kept everybody.
Her entire body language during this entire segment is just like, I can't believe this is even happening. Through the entire thing. We've been watching for 3 minutes now. All 3 minutes of it just seem like there should be a comic bubble here that says, how are we here? Why do I need to say this? Like, just incredible. And also, huge shout out, you guys. Holy moly. Chloe kicking it off here with the 199 Rise in Slime. Thank you so much, Chloe. Chris Hayes sliming someone in the chat, and then Classy Beats following in and dropping a 10 gifted memberships in the chat, which is super generous. Make sure you guys are saying thank you if you got a gifted membership from either Classy Beats or from Chris Hayes. And then look how sweet you guys are. Classy says, glad you're safe and got power back. Guys, like, I'm so spoiled for air conditioning. That was rough, and it wasn't even that hot out this week. I have a hard time sleeping when there's no background noise, and I can't put a blanket on. I need a blanket on to sleep. Oh man, I really feel like I take AC for granted. Never again. But thank you so much, Classy. Classy says, glad you're safe and got power back. Like the video on your way in, gang. And shout out to Amy E. And then Amy E followed up with this incredible $100 super chat. We are grateful you are safe. Thank you so much for your support, Amy E and Classy. Big shout out to both you guys. And I've been bad with the banner. This banner is going to say we are sponsored by Club Classy. And I don't know if we'll get squeaks today. I heard from Steven Satchel that the squeaks were few and far in between. But the few squeaks we get are going to be sponsored by Amy E and Classy. So we'll get them in the banner. And remember, guys, the next Club Classy show is going to be Monday night. You start those at 8 on Mondays, right? Or is that just for the finals? I got to get my facts straight. And I see Steph already posted the link. Thank you so much, SteffJK. You were so quick with the links. And that is greatly appreciated. So get that going there. Thank you so much again, you guys. And so glad to have you guys all here tuning in. I really felt like alone and like left out and missing out on when Friday passed, and even Wednesday night. Wednesday night I was there for the very beginning of Club Classy and then got off because of storm. The winds were already getting bad. And I missed you guys all so much. Like, I know it was only like 3 days, but it felt like a really, really long time. And then big thank you to Elizabeth Wright, another person I always love to see, always supporting the artists over in Club Classy. Thank you so much for gifting another 5. And my bad, Classy, my bad, Blood Blassie. And Asia Mullen, yes, we are supposed to have court tomorrow. I was confused myself. We'll get some clarification at the end of this stream, I'm sure, when they close out the court day. But from what I'm hearing, court will be in session. So I think that's confusing because it is Columbus Day, but it's not always observed as a holiday that warrants closures anymore. So we will get a confirmation by the time we end this stream, but it looks like, as far as what I'm hearing, there's court tomorrow. So big thank you again to all the support of you guys. And look at Whitaker's face in this freeze frame. Oh, holy moly, holy moly.
Including the person who had made the original email communication and the court on her response to Miss Love. And I believe that to be ex parte, and that is the reason why, as soon as I read it, I had Ms. Persifield forward it to all counsel, because I don't think that should be going on.
I certainly appreciated that, Your Honor.
And the court really has ignored entirely the substance of the communication, because the court is not making any decisions based on whether I think the RICO statute is good or bad. That's not what judges do. The legislature enacts statutes. I apply them hopefully correctly.
And I have no
or
concern.
whether anybody thinks any attorney is
Doug is like trying to say, it's okay, I got it, thank you. And Whitaker is still just going off.
doing a good or a bad job. I'm just sitting here trying to follow the law.
Yeah, and I'm not concerned about any impact on the court from that communication.
Yeah.
It's just the
Shouldn't be
communication
happening.
itself. Thank you.
So, Ms. Persifield, if you don't mind printing that out. And I have no idea what court exhibit number we're on, but if somebody can figure that out, we'll number it, court's exhibit number, whatever the next one is. Do you know?
Your Honor, our numbering system is broken down by act, which is why we have the different letters. So
Oh, no, court exhibits.
I will check that, Your Honor.
We don't know, Your Honor.
I mean, I don't know either, but Somebody does. The court reporter, or the last court reporter, maybe. But anyway, we'll get that figured out and make that a court's exhibit. Okay.
Oh, that was hilarious. Whitaker was just going off. Start of the day.
Is on his way.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, I forgot we had Sprinkel get back on the stand about the laptop.
So I can't imagine that I am going to grant motion in limine number, is it numbered? This one's not numbered. But the motion that requests work product of the of the prosecution, but I haven't gotten through the entirety of it yet. Nor, I suppose, has the district attorney. And they would be entitled to respond, but that just doesn't seem like an appropriate thing to do. I'm going to give them a chance to take a look at it and digest it and respond.
So we don't get to hear about that argued today? I mean, to me, that motion in limine is tongue-in-cheek. Like, if the state's going to do this, then technically we should have access to their work product, which shouldn't be the case. We shouldn't have to ask for privilege, like work product.
All right,
but
I
the
think
state is
probably
so far
on
over the
all of
mark.
Motion number 65, I'm apparently looking at them out of order, but, and number 64, we're going to give, we might be able to take them up this afternoon, but I'm going to give the prosecution at least through the lunch hour to respond to those. So we'll address those after lunch. Okay.
Your Honor?
Yes.
I will say that I know this morning we're going to be discussing some of the Instagram content of Mr. Ryan, and I think the argument which comes up in number 64 is also going to be relevant during those discussions.
Okay, I didn't even look at 64 very carefully, honestly. Thought I would look at it at lunch as well. So let me take.
Now, I certainly will take a look at it too, because I always appreciate Mr. Steele bringing me the law I need.
Okay, well, let's turn for now to the issues that we're going to tackle about the evidence surrounding Mr. Ryan. Let me find my notebook.
Oh, and Chloe, this is interesting. And again, you guys always hear me say Chloe is like trivia brain, just has so much knowledge. Fun fact, Shania Jenkins, the sister of Aaron Hernandez's fiance, whose boyfriend he killed, became a Fulton County ADA. She's since moved on, as any smart attorney should do. Love the snark, but interesting. And yeah, you know, I feel like there are stories of prosecutors that get into that line of work because they were affected, they were impacted by a horrible crime. Like, that's obviously going to have an impact on you if you're 2-3 degrees removed from something pretty serious. And I feel like if you go into that line of work with passion and you end up in an office like the Fulton County District Attorney's office, you might not feel like your heart and your mission are aligned with that office. So, not a surprise to me that she has since moved on, although don't know much about her. Thank you so much for the super chat and for all of the trivia. Army Nurse says, we missed you too. Thank you, chat with a capital C. And the mods, shout out to the mods. And don't forget to hit like when you come in. Let's do this, Cat. Heck yeah. And this is a different one, you guys. There really isn't like a spoiler ban today, because I know this is like 3 days past now. And I've heard a lot. But excited to see the details of how it actually plays out. I'm making 2 times until they talk. makes her look like she's turning the pages so quick over there.
All right. Did the state get a chance to look at the law sent over about the in-life photograph and what y'all's position on introducing that photograph through the mother?
Yes, Your Honor. We'll meet with Ms. Holmes again, but I don't. Good morning. We'll meet with Ms. Holmes again. In our previous meetings with her, she has not been overly emotional about this case with involving her son. Her being on stand will be very limited to getting in the photo, and then she will be completed with her testimony. And so we believe, just given the witnesses that we have, that she would be the best witness to enter into that photograph. Ms. Smith is the individual, we believe, assisting in setting up this homicide. Mr. Uten and Mr. Mitchell, at this juncture, in all honesty, are not very cooperative. And so those individuals to bring in this picture of Mr. Holmes, we believe would be inappropriate. The mother can do it.
So what the issue here is, they need a witness that can lay the foundation to bring this picture in, and they're suggesting they want to use the victim's mother to do so. The judge is confronting a possible problem, exercising foresight. Hey, if a victim's mom gets on the stand, there could be a good chance that she'll start bawling her eyes out, looking at a picture that might relate to why her child left this earth. And if you have a witness crying on the stand, exhibiting extreme emotional reactions, now you kind of get into some presentation to the jury that would best be reserved for victim impact statements. Because a mom crying on the stand could become very prejudicial to the defendants, because it could really inflame the passion of the jurors. So what Whitaker's trying to establish here is, should I be concerned that the mom's going to be the one talking about this photo? That could be a tearjerker. Do you have another witness that you could alternatively use to bring in this evidence? Because I'm not trying to stop you from being able to present your case. I just want to make sure that we're presenting this case in a way that the defense isn't going to ask for a mistrial because the jury just saw a grieving mother cry her eyes out on the stand. So
Honestly, I can't hear that one either.
The mother can bring in this photograph. She will be up here for a very limited purpose, and we believe that it will not violate Good or any other of the other.
That mic is not working. You have to hold it closer to your mouth.
Okay.
So you believe that whichever one of those witnesses that was in the car, if you said, is this whatever the person's name is, they would say, I have no idea?
It's very possible, Your Honor. At this juncture, all of our witnesses who come in here should be able to answer simple questions. Unfortunately, do not. I mean, we've seen it time and time again, simple questions.
Okay, you know what? How about try it with one of them, and if they refuse to identify the photo, then call the mom. Okay?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right.
And then, Your Honor, also for the in-life photo, Mariah Smith, who's going to be a witness, they're going to show her a photo that she posted on her Instagram anyway. So having two photos of Mr. Holmes would be cumulative.
Your Honor, we will. We will follow the court's instruction. We will try to get it in through one of the other witnesses.
Okay. All right, and then, I mean, if it's already, it's the same, it's not the same photo, is it?
No, Your Honor.
Is there going to be some other purpose for the Instagram photo with, what page number are these people on? Do y'all know? Okay. Okay, Miss Smith, the Instagram photo of Mr. Holmes, you'd be using it?
If we choose to, that's one of the pictures that we place in the items to discuss.
Okay.
So we are deciding, as we would with any witness, what evidence we're going to admit. So we may or may not admit that Instagram.
Okay, well, if there would be no other purpose for it, then it would be cumulative. There may be some other purpose they might have.
Your Honor, I expect that photo to come in through Ms. Smith. She testified at the original trial. When she spoke to officers, she said she spoke to the victim every day at trial. She said she'd never met him before that night. And of course, she's posted a photo of him on Instagram. So we certainly anticipate bringing it in to impeach her from her trial testimony that she didn't know him.
All right, but I mean, that would be after you'd be cross-examining. So I would imagine if they ask the same question, they could do the same thing.
Sure.
All right. Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Chair. Your Honor, in this case, the reference, which is GUDE, GUDE, versus State 313 Georgia, 859. It's in Division 2B, as in Barry, it's 2022 case. And I've litigated this, and I know the courts said it yesterday. In a murder case, God forbid, the in-life photograph is relevant because you have to show that the person was alive, and then is the corpus delicti is no longer living. But this is a conspiracy RICO count. So the overt acts don't, and that's going to be another issue that we argue before your Honorable Court whenever you call it, but those overt acts don't have to be proven. It just has to be contemplated that that's what the conspiracy is about, and that overt act has been commenced in some way. It could be a lawful act. But here, the state is putting in, or wants to put in through a parent, the loss of a child. That's just unbearable. And whether they're going to cry or show their emotions or not, I'm not so sure that it has much relevance. I don't believe anybody is going to argue that the person wasn't a human being. And under paragraph 2B of the Good case, the Supreme Court specifically talks about that, it may not even be relevant, and then it would be a waste of time, and it would be prejudicial, especially if another photograph is coming in. So I just want it to be waged that that's the objection. And we're going to have another killing in this case, and I know Mr. Williams is not involved in these, but it's wearing on a jury, because those things go back to the jurors during deliberation. So I would like the court not to include an in-life photograph, except obviously Instagram or something like that if it's coming in anyway.
All right, well, we'll see how it ends up coming in. Okay, let's, I guess the autopsy photos, there's been an offer by the defense for Mr. Ryan to stipulate to the cause of Mr. Holmes, the manner of Mr. Holmes's death.
Yes, Your Honor. In discussing with defense counsel, we asked if they would be willing to stipulate to the autopsy report and the autopsy photos. They decided they do not want to stipulate to the autopsy report and photos, but only to the manner of death. While we understand that Mr. Holmes is only charged with the RICO count.
Mr. Ryan.
Excuse me, Mr. Ryan, I'm
Mr.
sorry.
Holmes?
Is only charged with a RICO count, and the murder is an overt act. We still have to show or prove the overt act for the jury to believe that it is a part of the conspiracy. And with that, Your Honor, Ms. D. Williams in her opening statement didn't say these words exactly, but alluded to the fact that her client was innocent of the underlying murder, which was the overt act in this case. I think her words were similar to, he's here, he's been convicted, but that's because he didn't have a good defense, something to that effect. And that was stated in opening. So the state, we believe, still have to prove the underlying overt act, which is the homicide. Initially, the state was trying to avoid calling Dr. Sullivan and an ability to get in or I think we showed the court 3 pictures initially. Defense objected to the omission of those 3 pictures. And so the state at this time is prepared to call Dr. Sullivan for the limited purposes of talking about Mr. Holmes' injuries and admitting into evidence at least 3 photos. We don't intend to, honestly, we would ask the defense that they would stipulate that Dr. Sullivan is an expert, so we don't have to go through that line of questioning, but be able to prove our case, show that how he died, the manner of his death, and those 3 autopsy photos. We don't believe Dr. Sullivan's testimony would take longer than 10 to 15 minutes if we're able to get directly to the point of how he died, where his injuries were, and we will conclude our testimony at that point.
So,
Now, for context here, I think it'd be great to point out that Damoni Blaylock and Rodalius Ryan were both charged and convicted of the 2019 murder of Jamari Holmes. Now, Steele is, when I've said Steele is going to be in front of the Georgia Supreme Court on November 5th, that is for Damoni Blaylock's appeal. And I'm going to tune in. We'll probably have to do like a YSL trial stream during the day, and then in the evening we'll take like a quick break and come back and watch the appeal argument that Steele makes on that day. Rodalius Ryan also has an appeal, but they asked for more time, and it's supposed to be on the November calendar, but I don't see a new docket date. So not sure when exactly that appeal argument's going to be, and his attorney is Dylan McConnell. So just so you know, like, they've both been convicted, but they're both also in the appeals process. So that's probably why Mr. Williams made that reference, which I think that's skirting a gray line during an opening statement, but who knows? Also, big shout out here to Bittersweets. Bittersweet says, "You are truly the best out there, Kat. Thank you for the kind words. Truly appreciated," with the green snake and or green duck emoji. Thank you so much, Bittersweets. And you became a member. I thought you were a member already. I feel like this trips me up on YouTube. I see people become a new member and I'm like, you've been a member for a month at least, I swear. But you look good in green. Glad to have you. And then Elizabeth Wright gifting another 5. So we were going to add Elizabeth to the banner because that is 10 memberships already. So big thank you to you guys for gifting the memberships. You guys know I love that feature. We're just growing the gang out here. And if you guys want to, if I do see a calendar date pop up for the Rodalius Ryan appeal, we could tune into that as well. I don't know that attorney's name, Dylan McConnell, but we'll see. It'll be a familiar name from now on.
What is the defense willing to stipulate to?
That his cause of death was a bullet to the brain, to the head. That's about it. And then the 2 victims that were also in the car, they could testify that they saw him in the car. They saw him, I guess, go over. Who else could testify? And then that's about it. I mean, I don't understand why they need the autopsy photos. So that's why I have the 401, 402, and 403 objection. They're only doing this to inflame the jury. There's no reason to bring in the autopsy photos.
Okay, well, they hardly picked photos that would inflame anybody.
Well, if seeing a 15-year-old on an autopsy table, which is what they did in their
Well,
opening,
you know
would
what?
inflame
He
the
got
jury.
killed.
He did, and they did a murder trial, and my client was wrongfully convicted.
Well, if you're making that argument, then they are entitled to prove it. So you will not stipulate to the medical examiner's expertise?
She was already admitted as an expert, so yes. I thought she, yeah, we'll stipulate to that.
Okay, great. All right, let me see the photos again.
Yes, Your Honor. May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
All right, I think if they're posting, we'll 2 times through that. Oh, they're just handing papers over. Okay. I was like the CC say applause. I was like, who's applauding?
Thank you. All right, did y'all
Shout out
give
to
me
Flesh of
a
the
sheet of
Gods.
paper that had what y'all had agreed to and what we still needed to litigate on Ryan or not? I mean, it would have been an email, but
We did not, Your Honor, because we have been going back and forth. We can,
Okay.
when we get to those pictures, we can let you know what we've agreed to, Your Honor.
okay, so what would the best thing to do be pull up the Dropbox link?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
And Mr. Sprinkel is here, Your Honor, if you wanted to.
Okay.
Just walk.
Hi.
I made it buffer.
Can
My
you just
bad.
stand for me? Yes. And
Every time I pull up YouTube to grab a link, because I just dropped Flesh of the Gods link in the chat, so make sure you click that. Make the buffer worth it. Breaking it. Breaking it.
I wasn't going to do this right now, but when I read that, go ahead and sit down. You're sworn. You're already sworn. You've been a witness in this for days on
A
end.
sprinkle.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so you're still under oath, and
We're gonna slow him
I'm going
down.
to recall your attention to, I think it was the last day of your testimony, but it was, there was a laptop on the witness stand, and you accessed it,
Yes.
and you actually did that without anybody asking you to, or asking the court's permission.
Yeah, Sprinkle.
But can you tell me what all you looked at on the
My,
laptop?
yeah, I had my supplement, that 140-page document, and I also had some of the stuff that I pulled during the case. Everything that's already been turned over in discovery, just in case I need to refresh my recollection. But primarily, it was just it was a digital version of the report that I had on the stand. That was it. So I could do word searches, so if I was asked a question, I wouldn't have to be flipping through pages and looking for things.
Okay. Was there any point in time when you accessed anything else other than that report and the files that were connected to that?
No.
Okay. Did you in any way read any communication that came in at any time from anybody?
No, I wasn't communicating with anybody. I didn't have email open or anything like that. All I was looking at was the report and the digital media, like the discs that I brought to the stand with me, that stuff that was on the discs and the stuff that was turned over in discovery. That was it.
All right. We may call you back at some point with regard to this a motion that has just been filed after lunch. Are you going to be around this afternoon? And I don't know whether you'd be needed for that or not. Haven't read it in detail, nor do we have a response from the state yet. But would you be available this afternoon if we need you?
Well, I'm just one floor up, Your Honor, in courtroom 2B. I do have a couple of cases, but I mean, the short answer to your question is I will be in the building in the moment I can peel away.
And I don't know, like I said, whether you'll be needed or not, but all right. Thank you.
Okay.
Well, there is a bigger question here, and not really even a question, but a flat out problem that I think objectively is a problem. Whether he was communicating with someone from the state while he was on the stand is a question over here. There's a big issue where in real time, the defense attorneys are so far away, the room is so big, there's so many people that need to fit here, that if Sprinkel is sitting here, the laptop was like sitting over here on the desk, and his hand was like over here. So what defense attorney would really be able to see from a distance if Sprinkel's hand was doing this on the mouse scroll to do something? And if the defense can't see it in real time, they can't stand up and say, Your Honor, can you ask the witness to not reference or use the computer unless he's being asked a question or asked to refresh his recollection? Right? That's a completely appropriate thing to ask. The judge absolutely would have given the reminder, but they're not able to see what's going on in this huge courtroom to do so. And I'm shocked that Love was standing wherever she was standing and didn't point that out, because they were quick to point it out when Quindarius Zachary was, to me, Quindarius Zachary looked like he was just like keeping his hands busy. Oh, there's something in front of me. It happens to be a keyboard, so I'm going to put my hands like this. Sprinkel's actively scrolling, looking through stuff. You're not supposed to just have free reign to explore your supplemental reports. And I believe he was rereading his work. He just seems like that kind of person. But you're still not supposed to be doing that. And the state didn't stop him, even though they could probably see it happening. And the defense can't see what's going on at the witness booth. And I think it's such a practical constraint with the way this courtroom, the size of this trial, is set up, that this isn't the first time it's been a problem. We have the same issue with the hot mics and who can hear who on different sides of the courtroom. On June 7th, when Whitaker says, hey, Love asking Judge Glanville on Friday, June 7th for an ex parte meeting, it's on the record. The court transcriptionist caught it, so you guys should have objected when it happened. Well, the back of the courtroom can't hear that little whisper that Love says something when she's standing 2 feet away from the court reporter who can hear it and can transcribe it. So to me, that's not a fair argument to make for Whitaker to think if someone heard the tree fall, everybody should know the tree fell. So there's my rant. There's my rant that's kind of an umbrella issue over the issue at the heart of this motion involving Sprinkel and the laptop at the podium. But it's something that definitely frustrates me. And also, take a deep breath. Big thank you to Elizabeth Wright. Says, KNW gang, let's get these likes up. Thank you so much. And sniping somebody out here in the chat, making them slime green. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. We'll get more positive. We'll see what happens with the rest of this day. Sprinkel's ready to come back.
So let me get this Dropbox link open.
And we could go back to 1.25.
Is it the same one from yesterday?
Sprinkel's the speedy talker.
It's titled 9 October Centralized Motion Folder, and there's a subfolder in there that says Acts 79 through 81.
Okay. Yeah, the hardest thing for me is actually finding the email again. So
I can resend it.
Well, I'm sure Ms. Percefield can probably do that faster than y'all.
It was 11:36 on Tuesday.
Oh, here it is.
Well, 2 times till they get to
No, that's something else. No, I don't have it.
an actual discussion.
No. All right, so if y'all, I've got it up now, so if y'all want to just let me know which ones we're going to need to take a look at.
Your Honor, I think we should start with, so there's a PDF titled 11 October Ryan IG thread. Defense counsel in the state, we have had a couple discussions and gone over what we're introducing and various sides objections, and that 11 October Ryan IG thread is the most recent from Mr. Ryan's Instagram of the post we will be using, that we would be discussing.
Okay. All right. All right, and what would the objection be? What's the objection?
Your Honor, I believe we're looking at page, excuse me, Instagram 125. We believe this is going to be cumulative of other posts in the testimony itself. This is the post attributed to slimelife.shoddy, which is Wooney Lee, who's planning to testify. I think he would be able to testify to exactly what's in these photographs without necessarily.
Now, Wooney Lee has an Alfred plea, just to keep that in mind. So he didn't actually have to concede guilt. He can maintain his innocence, but just made an acknowledgement that the state probably does have enough evidence against him to possibly get a conviction. He was able to take an Alfred plea. So if Wooney Lee comes to the stand and we get Love to read another wonderful reading of the factual bases for an Alfred plea, oh, somebody needs to sage this whole trial. But who would be surprised?
Necessity of offering Instagram photos.
Okay, so the one that is page 125, it's not a photo anyway, it's a post.
I'm sorry, kind of screenshot,
Okay.
image, whatever you'd like to
Okay.
call it.
So, Your Honor, and if the court will permit, may I remain seated?
Yeah,
Or-
that's fine.
Thank you, Your Honor. So the Slime Life Shorty Instagram handle is Wooney Lee, who is he will be a witness in this trial, was originally a defendant. And this post is between Mr. Ryan and Mr. Lee. And he posts that he loves Mr. Ryan, he's realer than me. And then at the bottom, it says full throttle about you. The association between both of them, the state hasn't thus far in this trial with the jury, to my knowledge, introduced any evidence about Mr. Ryan and Mr. Wooney Lee's relationship. So this is the first photo we've addressed with the court explaining that. And the date it's posted is February 25th, 2019. The murder in this case is February 23rd, 2019. So the state feels it's relevant, and there's no other evidence introduced yet about this specific topic, so it's not cumulative at this moment.
Overruled. Ben, what's the next one? Are there other objections to other of the Instagram posts?
And great, and this is why I love the chats. Shout out to William Fagan, Wooney Lee, Slime Life Shorty, and I don't know if that's with a W or an O-R-T, but Slime Life Shorty something. He also has a song, Where I'm From, where he says Free Lil Rod and shouts out Tick, so Trontavia Stevens, Munktunk, Woody, etc. So there you go. They're not going to be able to argue that they don't know each other at all. But also interesting that the closeness might lean towards Trontavia Stevens and Munktunk and Woody and not the 6 in this courtroom, right? Because remember, Quindarius Zachary said he was closer with Woody and Demikian Garlington. Munktunk kind of had a similar affinity towards others as well. So these affinity groups seem to be closer over here than they are to the 6 co-defendants in this room, with maybe the exception of Rodalius Ryan. And I think Munktunk said Rodalius Ryan, because this is Rodalius Ryan Jr. I think Munktunk said he knew Rodalius Ryan because he knew his dad or his uncle. Thank you, Real Talk with Retta. Good to see you.
Just on this, the relevance where I don't think we necessarily know who the other individuals in this photograph are.
Okay, are we moving on to, is this 127?
I'm sorry, Judge, yes.
Okay.
We accept your ruling of
Okay.
overruled.
All right, I just didn't know if we were moving on to the next one or if we were skipping 3 because there was an objection, but.
No, I believe,
Okay. And so the objection would be it's the other people aren't identified?
I don't know if they're relevant to this case at all.
Okay, what is so it's a relevance objection. What's the relevance?
Yes, and Your Honor, may I remain seated as well?
That's fine.
Your Honor, specifically 3 individuals in this picture are, we believe, YSL members. That would be @1Brees, which is Christian Eppinger, @Real1_FR, which is Mr. Darius Ford, and Little Non-Life, which is Mr. Durante BB. We can block out the other individuals and only keep in the 3 that we know of are members of YSL.
Okay, when you say block out, you mean the tags. What about the picture itself?
When I say block out, the pictures of those other people and the tags of those other individuals.
All right.
That would cure the objection.
Okay. All right, so then 128.
It's just the page reflecting the date that 127 was posted.
Oh, you're right. 129, sorry.
We have no objection to 129.
Okay.
And Judge, I will say, we object as far as these being prejudicial and cumulative. We have nothing further to argue as far as objections go. So when we say no objection, it's no further objection to the general objection for all of them.
Okay, so I'm not going to assume that each one of these has a relevance and cumulative objection, so I need y'all to state the objection for each of them, okay? So you think this is, so it would be cumulative? What are your objections to 129?
We'll withdraw the
Agree
objection.
on that one.
We'll withdraw the objection.
Oh,
Okay,
oof.
so without objection, okay, thank you. 137. Any objection to 137?
So coming in, because it sounded like they were both ready to concede to the other party at the same time, and the judge just went with it coming in. So a little oops there. And shout out to Flesh of the Gods teaming up with FFS in the chat. Flesh of the Gods is doing the delivery, but these really came from FFS. So if you guys just got a gifted membership, and you guys know the drill, say thank you. But especially this time around, you get the excuse to say FFS in the chat. So take advantage of it. Thank you so much, FFS. And thank you to Flesh of the Gods for being the middleman. Big, big thank you. And then also here, thank you to TSC. Good to see you, gifting a membership. And Ashley, so, we're doing like a balance here. We don't really have spoiler alerts because Friday was a couple days ago already. But Ashley says, Kat, as a witness, talking about Michael Sprinkel, any information the prosecution has or reviewed needs to be turned over. Therefore, his electronic files and work product has been waived, ? He's a sworn witness. Now, you guys in the chat are telling me that even though Whitaker wants to address this motion for the work product after lunch, that we don't actually get to this argument today, which kind of sucks because I really want to see it. Ashley, I think this will be an argument that's going to need to show case law. And you guys know I love those arguments because we always get to see who is prepared, who brings the arguments to the table. And also I think it's pretty interesting. Every once in a while, the judge is she kind of signals that she knows what the case law out there says, and she's waiting for the argument to be made for the given argument, for the situation. And I'm just waiting to see how this plays out. Work product ordinarily isn't something that is turned over unless there's a reason for it. And just as Ashley's lining up here, this is a sworn witness on the stand. If there were things that he was reviewing together in the course of him being a witness that's going to take the stand, now, even though he's an employee with the district attorney's office and that stuff would ordinarily be work product, it might now fall under an exception where it should be turned over to the defense. So I think this is going to be a very interesting kind of technical legal argument whenever judge gets to it. Unfortunately, Ashley, it's apparently not going to be today, which I don't know if that means it'll be Monday, or if this is something that the state was given until Friday to respond to. That ill kid Jay, do you know if this is included in the Friday response time? So state's response to defense motions are due by Friday too, which may take up an estimated 40 minutes of love arguing and a 10-minute cool down comfort break. So maybe Munktung's hearing will be delayed. So guys, 4 p.m. on Friday coming up is supposed to be the probation revocation hearing for Munktung, for Antonio Sledge. It's going to be Adam Abate, Abedi, making the arguments for the state. And I think it's very interesting that that is scheduled for 4 p.m. Eastern on a Friday, as if that is going to be time limited. That's not going to be allowed to run on and on and on with long-winded arguments. So that will be interesting. But that Ilka J, I wonder if this motion for work product to be turned over as it relates to Michael Sprinkel as a witness, I wonder if that is kicked down to Friday. Yeah, so I'm thinking that this is a Friday thing, Ashley. I'm so curious. I wish we could fast forward to Friday. Like, I want to see that, and I want to see the revocation hearing. Thank you so much for the super chat, Ashley, and I'm right there with you. I want to know. I want to see how this plays out. And then Dream, you're probably calling the shots ahead of time here. Dream says they will never have homework ready, and I wouldn't be surprised if once again they are not prepared for their arguments as they should be coming up on Friday. Yeah, and the Fashionably Fit Life, Brian Steele mentioned on day 134 that he may be forced to request Sprinkel's work product. Oh, it would be so beautiful, you guys. It would be so beautiful. And the thing about requesting work product of somebody like Sprinkel, imagine Gaither's in the DA's office. Sprinkel's in the DA's office. And they both put in an equal amount of hours on any given case. Just straight across the board, Gaither puts in 100 hours, Sprinkel puts in 100 hours. If you somehow have the access, the reign, the standing to request work product from Gaither's 100 hours versus standing to request and obtain work product from Sprinkel's 100 hours, the amount that you'll get from Sprinkel, I think, will be voluminous. And Gaither will just be like, I don't have anything. So for this request, and for the request to be productive in terms of Sprinkel's work, if this is granted, there's going to be good, detailed work provided to the requesting party. Like, just think about that. Yeah, pink slime. I bet it's thorough and voluminous. Yeah. Jakes, you owe me a soda? Dang, pink slime. Oh, man. What is the slime soda? Is it like Mountain Dew? We owe each other Mountain Dews. Oh, my goodness. This is going to be interesting, you guys. Friday's going to be good. Friday is going to be good.
Thank you. Any objection to 143?
He says Gaithers would be a post-it, a little post-it.
This is also a post with, this is Wani Lee, who's a co-defendant. And so at this point, this would be the second post, so this would be cumulative.
Okay, what's the response?
Your Honor, this is a little bit different because in this post, it says slime is all we know. We can't go out bad, loyalty over love. So it's, again, it's showing, it's for one using, he's referring to it as slime is all we know. And he's expressing loyalty amongst two fellow gang members, Your Honor, publicly.
Let me go back up and look at that first one. So are you saying when this references slime, what are you saying? I'm sorry, I don't really understand what your argument is.
When it says slime is all we know, we can't go out bad. There's been testimony earlier in Zachary's interview, he says a comment about catching someone down bad, which means to murder or hurt them. So when he says we can't go out bad, slime is all we know, we can't go out bad. It's like the gang is all we know, and it's saying loyalty over love right after that. So it's like we got to protect one another. This is what we know.
So this is more than just the two of them's relationship. This is with regard to the larger gang.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so the cumulative objection is overruled.
Judge, my question with this post, and some of the others is going to be, I don't know if we're going to have a witness who's going to come in and say, this is what this person means. I don't think that would be appropriate. If they'd like to say this is what this person means, they should be asking the author or whomever posted it. But the same question Your Honor has looking at it, well, what is the relevance? I don't think it's appropriate for a witness to come in and say, this is what this person means when they posted this.
Okay, are y'all planning to have somebody do that?
So two things, Your Honor. One, all of these that we're currently in is statement of party opponent from Mr. Ryan. But specifically on that issue, the jury has heard from, the first witness was Detective Belknap, who was an Atlanta Police Department gang detective. So a lot of what I'm proffering this to the court of why the state wants it,
I
but
understand.
each individual post or comment is not going to, some of this evidence is already in evidence in terms of the state has had witnesses testify about gang identifiers, what these mean. So
So you're not going to have somebody say, this is what whomever the poster was meant, because I'm in their head.
no, Your Honor, I'm not going to have someone get up and say exactly what Mr. Ryan meant when he posted this. No. Your
Okay,
Honor.
but y'all can certainly argue that if you want to, if and when we ever get to closing arguments. Okay. All right, page 145. Any objection?
Sorry, Judge, 143, we'll take that as an objection overruled.
Yes.
No objection to 145.
All right. 164.
No objection.
Thank you. 166.
Yes. Subject to connection.
Judge, this is one that we had actually discussed with the state that we didn't feel it was relevant or appropriate unless one BS slime to be established who that person was. We were waiting on the state to see if they had an answer of who that would be and if there was someone who would testify based on some evidence in the trial versus just, this is this person.
What was that other
Your
name?
Honor,
Like
the state's
Slime
understanding is
Bing
that 1B Slime is an individual by the name of Jaborius Greer. Jaborius Greer, we believe, is the nephew of Mr. Williams. And we have had gang experts that have had interactions with Mr. Greer, and we believe that he is also a member of YSL.
All right, well, is that going to come into evidence?
Yes, of who 1B Slime is, yes. Because he's on a few other posts as well, Your Honor.
Okay. Through whom is that going to come into evidence?
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
Through whom?
Investigative Vivarito.
Okay, and will that have been before or after this?
It'll be after.
All right, overruled. 203.
No objection.
211.
No objection.
236.
Yeah.
Objection or no?
Getting a little meaty McMuterton.
All of us in the back, I think we're trying to, I know this is
Oh, they're back.
kind of about Mr. Ryan.
Well, I
but
mean, the evidence is
Right.
coming into the trial, so.
I'm just trying to figure out, I'm in the Dropbox link that Mr. Atkins sent, but you guys are, everyone's referring to as exhibit numbers, and I'm,
It's no, it's at the very top right. It says page 240, which I guess must have been of the whole Instagram record. Did y'all see that? So it's in the folder that's, what, 79 through 81? And then I think it's, at least for me, the second entry in there.
It's title 11, October. Ryan IG thread.
All right, and then once you open it, you'll see the page number references, and that's what we're referring to right now. Sure. Okay, so we're on, I think, page 240?
Yes, Judge, we are objecting to the relevance subject to some sort of foundation or connection about what this is about.
Okay.
Yes, Your Honor. Rudy, we believe 240, the post says Rudy 4L is a GVNG, which we've seen for gang, they take out the A and replace it with a V. Rudy is a young man, and my apologies, his actual name is escaping me, but he was a member of YSL that is now deceased. And a number of YSL members either have Rudy 4L tattooed on them, or they have Rudy in some way. They honor this young man. And Detective Belknap has testified about Rudy and about this significance to YSL. And so the fact that Mr. Ryan is posting about him again shows his allegiance to YSL.
Okay. Well, given the testimony that's already come in, seems that's relevant, so overruled. 244.
Judge, we're just asking the ones who've not been identified or won't be identified be redacted out from this image.
All right.
So, Your Honor, because this post is titled Love All Mine and it has a snake emoji, the state, and it's a statement of party opponent, the state feels that all of these, and some of these Instagram, in what we will get to in a little bit, interact with some of these handles. And so the state feels that it's relevant that in this public post, he says, love all my, the state interpreted as slimes, he puts the snake. And so the state feels that none of these should be redacted.
Okay, I see what you mean. Okay, that's fine. Then I will overrule the request for redaction. 258.
Judge, I feel this is highly prejudicial without any sort of connection to this actual case.
Response.
So, Your Honor, this is a 6 firearms, and the one on the far right has an extended magazine. So the state, we have whittled down pictures and reference.
Where does it come from? Like, what's this a picture from?
It's his Instagram, Your Honor.
Oh, right, okay.
And so, yes, Your Honor. So because at this point in time, we've tried, there's a number of pictures of firearms in pictures and videos. And so thus far, we've discussed one today. So the state feels that this is, it's relevant to show access to firearms. It's his own Instagram that this is a photo he has. So the state feels at this point in time, it's not cumulative or irrelevant that there's 6 firearms, one at least visibly has an extended magazine in this photograph.
Okay, well, given that he's choosing to post this on his Instagram, I'm going to overrule the relevance objection. Case G60 is the next one.
No objection.
All right. 315.
No objection.
So then there's several pages of business records. That's just showing,
Your Honor,
what is that?
so this is Instagram. At the top of every page is going to have business record, but these are Instagram threads.
Okay.
That the remainder of this PDF is various conversations
Okay.
that Mr.
They were
Ryan's
using
having.
threads?
All right, so Ms. Bossi, if you can direct me to whatever the next page is that you have objection to.
Your Honor, it's going to be the next few pages, which are the number at the top is 400 through 404.
Okay.
I don't believe we have or there will be any sort of identification about who the conversation is between besides Mr. Ryan and another person. Our understanding from the state is this is about selling firearms. And I don't know how that is relevant to this case about Mr. Ryan selling firearms.
All right, and I see that some of these things are highlighted.
Yes, Your Honor. So the highlights, it was to make it easier for both the court defense counsel to follow what the state feels is significant, because the way that Instagram returns come in, you can have multiple threads on different pages. Okay. And so it goes by time of when you get an incoming request. So it can get kind of confusing to follow because it's not just a conversation between Mr. Ryan and one party, it's embedded with others. So the highlights are, I may have missed a couple, but it's to orient. Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
So they subpoenaed these records. Why didn't they do this for some of the other Instagram stuff where there's been a great deal of contention over the dates that things were posted?
All right, and so there's a relevance objection.
Yes, Your Honor. So this is in a similar category in regards to, there is a number of references to FYE when it says sell me a fire, the state, that is a gun, firearm. There's a number of these in the Instagram. The state wanted to include some of these so that these photographs of guns, it's him talking about actual firearms. Sometimes, I'm not saying this argument has been made or will be made, but in terms of for the jury, his internal discussions about real firearms, right? Instead of maybe they could be a prop, or maybe they could be, these photos we're showing, that this is just showing he has access to. And
So these are these like DM message conversations? Because now I see why, another reason why they want Rodalius Ryan on this indictment.
talking about.
Right, but we're not talking about the photo right now. As I understand the relevance objection, it is, what is the relevance of him proposing and engaging in conversation about a transaction to buy or trade firearms?
Yes, Your Honor. So in this case, in regards to count 1, it's maintaining armed individuals ready and willing to preserve, protect, and enhance their reputation through the use of violence. It also includes, ease and access to firearms. And so the fact that he is casually discussion, because this specific one, Mr. Ryan is talking about, give me 250 for my Glock. And the party he's interacting with says, I got a Taurus, I'm going to sell it for 2. So it's simply to show the ease with firearms involving a case with a number of violent acts and his access to firearms. That's why the state wanted to include this. And I can see the court's chagrin, but that's why the state wanted to
It's
include
not
this.
chagrin, but I doubt maybe as to the relevance of him wanting to sell a firearm, if that's what this is reflecting.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yeah, I'm going to grant the relevance objection. All right, what's the next?
I'm sorry, Judge, they've taken out a few photos or a few parts since the last time we
Okay,
discussed it.
that's- yeah.
Making sure I only talked about the ones which are relevant.
Appreciate it.
413. So I think we get up to 416. There are going to be a number of pages in here which it's just Mr. Ryan saying slat or just one phrase. And I guess our question is exactly how many of these do we need? Because we've got some images, we've got multiple conversations. How many times do we need to just see the same one word or same one phrase to establish that these are phrases or words that Mr. Ryan uses?
Okay, so I see the one that starts on 416.
Correct,
Is
Your
that a
Honor.
multi-page thing?
It is pages 416 and 417.
Okay.
And the state, again, has whittled down, in the Instagram, there is a lot of reference to these terms, but the state wanted to include some because these are private, direct messages.
Okay, so this would be this 2-page
Correct, Your Honor.
correspondence.
And so it starts at the bottom of page 416 where
Watch
instead
out
of the
now.
S, it's the 5.
Right.
And it says slat, and it's between, Mr. Ryan's Instagram is Slime Business Rod, and the person he's interacting with is Maniac with an X instead of the C, Rolac. And so that Instagram handle, I do not know exactly who Maniac Rolac is, but Pete Rolac, Sex Money Murder, founders of that street gang, that Instagram handle stands out. But nonetheless, it's just to show, and the state's not intending to do this 100 times. This is the first time we've discussed it where Mr. Ryan says slat with a 5 and the person responds, what's blazing twin? And then Mr. Ryan says he's basically just hanging out, but he's replacing certain letters like C's with B's. And then the other guy responds right side, and the right side is significant. And so this also has, so yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so that one's the first time.
Hold on. I would be curious about, and I'm not saying this would involve non-nefarious activity, but someone saying right side, you're saying that that's a phrase that the Bloods use, but depending on when these timestamps are, if they're arranging some type of pickup or exchange of money, saying right side might mean use the right side door, or building on the right side, or come to the right side of the car with the tinted windows because I'm sitting on the right side of the vehicle. So, and again, that's like a fact issue for the jury to decide. So of course it's going to come in front of the jury. But it's just one of those moments where I'm thinking of how Sprinkel, why am I calling Atkins Sprinkle? How Atkins heard Shart like break down one of the wiretap calls and what was actually being said. And Shart's like, why am I messing up the names? Atkins was like, oh, I see what Shart is saying. We're going to withdraw this one. So I think a lot of this sometimes they're so gung-ho that the meaning 100,000 trillion % has to be some gang affiliation all the time.
We're seeing it, so that one can come in, and then I don't know whether they're going to be more or not, but my ruling might be different if there are more.
So, Judge, from there, we move over to page 467, which is where we have a message between Winnie Lee, who was the speaker or the person in the first few photos. The state wanted to show the association with Mr. Ryan saying, "Where yacht slime, WYA, you good."
We're going to withdraw that, Your Honor.
All right, they're going to withdraw that.
All right.
Devonia. Oh my goodness.
Judge, the next one is going to be moving up to Instagram page number 512.
Okay. And, okay, what's the objection?
So this 512 through 514 is a conversation, I guess, between underscore free Juju, who I don't think we know who it is. It begins on page 512. 513 is a conversation where Mr. Free Juju says, you know, the N-word you robbed named Bully. They're talking about some sort of conflict allegedly that Mr. Ryan had where he robbed somebody. We feel that's entirely too prejudicial to come in. And the conversation about it continues with Free Juju being the speaker.
So, Your Honor, this thread goes from Instagram pages 512 to 514. And the state does not have, so just, I'm going to follow this thread because to orient the court. So it starts at the bottom of page 512 where Free Juju tells Mr. Ryan he's got to tell him about something that happened today. And
Right.
Mr. Ryan's like, well, what happened? So the state has no problem to redacting the word robbed. He's referencing something that Mr. Ryan had previously robbed, but the state wants more so that he's talking about a specific person named Bully. And then Mr. Ryan's like, yeah, I remember the guy I robbed. And then they go further. And so what this individual says is Tobias had got caught for an X, which the state believes is a gun, while he was walking on the back street back from school.
Right.
And then, long story short, this individual Bully draws down on him, as in brandishes a firearm at him, and he's telling Mr. Ryan that Tobias was scared. And so in response to that, you go down to 514, and Mr. Ryan says, were y'all striking on Cleveland? Striking typically can be going in to break into cars and steal items. And he's like, no, we weren't breaking into cars. We were walking to school smoking, and we saw a gun on the seat. And then further on, what Mr. Ryan responds to that in terms of the person letting someone draw a gun on him and not resort to violence back is, y'all are reckless. Why did y'all let Bully draw down on him? Now y'all can't get bust down. I'm going to draw on him on slime. So it's the state kind of wants these 3 pages for that last line where he says, I'm going to draw down on him on slime, on the gang.
This is it. This is the issue. So I think a lot of this stuff is incriminating for the individual acts of these individuals involved. The issue, and let me be clear, I think the jury will hear these things and be like, yeah, these guys were going around looking to find cars that may have firearms in them so they could get the firearms out of it, potentially resell these firearms and make some money off of them. Not really legal activities. But the focus that the state is making to get into this element to prove count 1 and tie all of these other co-defendants in on what Rodalius Ryan might be doing on his own. You say right side, that means you're doing this in relation to blood activity. And we're tying YSL into the Bloods. And then also we're doing this on slime. So now these things that Rodalius Ryan is doing, it's not just an individual capacity anymore. We want these specific phrases on slime to say that this is somehow it's done in furtherance of the enterprise. It's something that they're all conspiring together in on. I don't really have an issue with this evidence coming in against Rodalius Ryan in an individual capacity for specific charges that relate to what's going on in these text messages. But I think it's a really thin line to walk to say that this is a prima facie showing that saying on slime is, I'm doing this because of a gang. So.
All right, so just redact on the thread, I guess. What are you, just redact, you robbed?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, well, that'll cure that objection.
Judge, that brings us up to page 543 through 546.
Okay.
This is another, I believe, series of talking about, I guess, selling bullets.
Given your previous ruling, Your Honor, we'll withdraw.
All right. All right, what would our next one be?
I thought they were taking 696. We already said. My notes in this, Judge, was that the state was going to withdraw 696 because we already had the word slat earlier.
Is that right?
Well, page 696?
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like all that is.
Yeah, 696.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Okay. Thank you.
Let's see, okay.
the biggest thing that sucks is they can't, the other co-defendants can't just cross-examine Rodalius Ryan, right? He's not going to be put on the stand. They're not going to be able to cross him. And to Rio's point here, Rio, they're using this kid to try and prove their case that it's a gang because this young person, right? How many times have we said in the chat, these young kids, they're impressionable. They say stupid stuff online. And Rodalius Ryan may have also been doing unlawful things. But that doesn't mean that everybody that ever says the phrase on slime is doing something for a gang, right? But to Rio's point here, he uses YSL in everything he says and does. And to me, and this is, if Whitaker says it's up to the jury to decide, this is the question that the jury will have to go through. I see the young kid who wants to say that everything he's doing is some big, I'm hot shit, YSL, claiming things that I'm not actually a part of because I'm 15, 16, 17 years old and trying to fit in or trying to show off that I'm cool and part of something. But the jury might not be made up of people like me. The jury might say, well, this guy says slime and the state says that when he says right side, he means blood. And since we're not having Rodalius Ryan on the stand, we're only going to have Detective Viverito. We're going to have Detective Viverito tell us what she thinks that stuff means when someone else, Rodalius Ryan, was saying it. And I really think jurors take police officer testimony seriously, detective testimony seriously, for better or for worse. So we're not going to have the defense ask Lil Rod, like, hey, when you said on slime, were you doing something for YSL? To which Rodalius Ryan could say yes or no. We're going to have Detective Viverito, who, in my opinion, is probably more inclined to say, yes, on slime means part of the conspiracy, pre-planned, for the furtherance of YSL, the gang. So a whole big mess. And also here, I didn't want to skip this. Shalia Green, always love to see your hair color. I love it so much. King Von and YMW Melly wipe their noses in the video. So are they YSL now? Hilarious. And also, it's football Sunday, so I'm waiting to open up X and see somebody. I know somebody's going to clip some NFL player today doing the nose wipe. And it's just like the ongoing joke of a question, right? Like, everybody's YSL now, even people that might not be the most compatible, or by the state's own theory would probably be competitive with YSL, either in record label terms, as a competitive music artist taking up space in the industry, or in street terms. The state would argue, I'm sure, if you gave them the opportunity. Obviously, King Von's no longer on this earth, so that's not really going to come up. But I can imagine if the state had a way to tie these folks in, somehow they would have beef with Jeffrey Williams, but also be wiping their nose, but it would mean something totally different. It just... like, the reaches and the exceptions made in this case are never unentertaining. Thank you so much, Shalia. Chloe Albert's Revenge says, I see what happened here. So if Hilton is in fact with child, Love gave her some of her suits so she won't have to buy maternity clothes, and she took the day off to get more from the Crayola factory. I love, like, not letting clothes go to waste, you guys. And I don't know if Hilton's actually with child. I don't know about that. For her sake, if she wants to have a kid and wants to have a leave from this trial, can you imagine what a nice blessing that would be? You're tired of this case, you don't want to work it anymore, you disagree with your boss, and you get maternity leave and they can't deny it. What an amazing, beautiful thing. Like, I would look at my child like, you saved me. Oh, thank you so much, Chloe. And then Dee, thank you for the 2 and the thumbs up there. Thank you so much. And catching this right before we hit play, Elizabeth Wright says, Ryan seems like a fanboy YSL label groupie. And I get that impression, but I wonder if these jurors see the way kids act online. I wonder if these jurors took it to heart when other defendants said, there's no real initiation process, and if you false claim, you're not, and these are witnesses that had to testify as part of their plea agreement that YSL was a gang, right? But then they found other ways. They had to testify to that as part of their plea, but then they would give other answers, other testimony to the effect of, well, there wasn't really an initiation and there weren't rules. There wasn't something that said if you false claimed, you could be in trouble. So I wonder how much that stuck with the jury, though. Something that stuck with me. Probably a lot of you guys. But yeah. And then let's see here. Where are we going with however many more Instagram post exhibits?
Judge, this one, I think we had.
I'm sorry, this one being.
I'm sorry, Judge. It's going to be page 778.
Okay,
Ms. Abbasi, in the court, for 778, the state, we won't use 778.
okay. All right, and then is the next thing 801?
We had no objection to 801.
And that goes, what, 801, 802, I guess?
802, we discussed with the state, they were going to redact out part of it, which we agreed to, and no objection
Okay.
with that redaction being.
All right,
We're going to redact, Your Honor, at the very top, the first text on page 802. And defense counsel in the state talked about this.
okay, as long as y'all are on the same page.
That's going to bring us up to 819 and 820.
Okay.
This is another one, we don't believe there's any sort of connection to the gang, and how this would be relevant. Again, this is with Free Juju, who we don't know who this is.
Your Honor, the state, well, I'm double checking.
Laughing at the reference to a Hello Kitty.
Yeah,
Sorry.
he's basically insulting because the gun is
Yeah.
small.
Kind of funny.
So, Your Honor, the state will not be, I'm double checking because sometimes there's another thread that's captured on the same page, but we will not be introducing that
Okay.
brief back and forth.
All right.
Page 880, Judge, we feel that the relevance regarding to what the prejudice from this is, based on what the state's understanding of it is, which I don't think it's self-explanatory. Someone would probably have to explain what it means. But we feel it's overly prejudicial with respect to the minimal relevance.
All right, I think probably slide and sticks have already been explained, right? Through testimony already?
Correct, Your Honor. So the state wanted to include this just to show, it's one thing for the state to talk about it, but this is
Right.
an internal Instagram.
Okay. Overruled. What's next?
(903), 904, Judge, this was another relevance about some people talking about going to Club Crucial.
Your Honor, the person that Mr. Ryan is speaking with is, the author is 05E and Drive Slim. That is Mr. Christian McMillan, Your Honor, who unfortunately passed away in March of 2022. We believe is a YSL associate. So to show his connection with Mr. McMillan is why we have this.
All right, and have y'all already established who that author is, who that other person is?
We will be establishing who that is. We have a few Instagram posts with him and other individuals with this same Instagram handle, 05E and Drive Slim.
Okay, and this would just.
And it may already be in, there's a picture of Antonio Sledge and him.
Okay.
And I believe that picture is in evidence, Your Honor.
All right.
I'm sorry, Judge, there's
ahead.
a photo earlier on, which we did not object to, with this same person, so the connection between them has already been shown earlier via photo.
Your Honor, but the conversation continues because this is one of the conversations in which you actually need to look at his conversation with Mr. McMillan and his conversation with Billion Dollar Pink. Billion Dollar Pink towards the bottom of, their conversation actually starts in the middle where he tells her, I'm on the way to Crucial, or OTW, on the way to Crucial. Then, I believe it's a she, bruh, who you with?
Page am I looking at?
903.
Okay, it must not be highlighted.
It's not highlighted.
Okay, all right, I see Billion Dollar Pink.
Yeah, so she's,
Bro, who you with?
bruh, who you with? And then he responds to her, gang. So that coupled with him talking to Mr. McMillan about going to Crucial and who he's with, he's acknowledging that he is with gang to her. So these two conversations actually coincide with each other. So he's setting up going to Crucial with Mr. McMillan, and then he's telling the other person, when she asks who you're going with, gang.
Okay. Okay. Overruled.
The next ones, take one out. They take it. So they. Okay. This one's going to be 940, 941. As far as relevance, and I don't know what the probative value is, this is another one, a conversation between Mr. Ryan and somebody, and we don't know who. I don't know how it's relevant.
So Your Honor, this is where, when we started that post where it says love all of, and has the snake emoji, one of those individuals that Mr. Ryan, ats is BlockLife OKKY, which is who he's speaking with. So it's someone he's publicly stated as a fellow gang member. And so what he says is, at the very top of 940, this individual, BlockLife, says, talking about going to Club LaCroix, about to get dropped off at Big Nick's spot. Big Nick's spot is someone that pops up in terms of a location that that YSL members will go to or hang out at. So, and it's 2823 Waters Road, or sorry, 2830 Waters Road, which is the same house that's we've talked about to the court with the 911 call and tethered to the murder of Shamel Drinks and the back and forth. So also, if you follow this conversation more, Mr. Ryan, in kind of the bottom of 940, says, Slime's gone from the store to the studio. And this person responds like, who? Mr. Ryan uses this term MAJA, but then if you go further, he's like, what studio are they at? And he says, last time I checked, they were at Club LaCroix with Dolly. And there's been testimony about Dolly being Dolly Greer,
Dolly?
the sister of Jeffrey Williams, about 2 hours ago. So again, this is showing it references a couple of different items in a private Instagram thread of a location of Waters Road, referred to as Big Nick spot, and also tethers, because age-wise, there's a difference. And so it connects Mr. Ryan with other evidence in this trial.
All right, overruled.
And Judge, just to add to that, the part about who was with Dolly, that's not Mr. Ryan as the speaker. I don't think we know who that person is. I'm sorry, did I miss that? We do know who that is?
I don't know his name. I know it's the same person that Mr. Ryan ats when he says, love all my slimes. And then Mr. Ryan responds to that, okay.
Yep. All right, thank you. Okay, what's our next one?
And Shalia, good point. So Jeffrey, Shannon Stillwell, and Yak were the only ones signed to YSL record label because the broke friends put their names and stuff out of jealousy. And for whatever reason, to me personally, some of the testimony we've gotten, Woody was a great example with Brian Steele doing the cross-examination. You weren't asked to do a collab with Jeffrey Williams, were you? You were also trying to come up with your own music, establish your own brand, build your own career. And did you know that Jeffrey Williams was collaborating? He's in these videos with Donovan Thomas. Why then were you collaborating with him? So I think the defense has done a really good job of underscoring, this idea that people wanted to be associated or involved and were nipped away, trimmed out whenever someone was involved in some shenanigans. But on top of it, when there was a music element, somebody had aspirations in the music industry and they were kind of left out. The defense has kind of carved away and gotten into the potential of animosity, envy, jealousy. So great point. And I'm wondering if we'll see this with any of the other witnesses that are called moving forward. So thank you so much for the super great point.
This is 950, 951. Seems some sort of spat between Mr. Ryan and somebody else. At the somebody else, I don't think we know who it is. So I don't know what the relevance of this is.
So, Your Honor, the state for 950 and 951 will not utilize that
All right.
thread.
Thank you.
$1,012 or 1012.
Okay.
12, excuse me, 1014. Again, we have another firearm gun conversation.
Any significance beyond?
Your Honor, no, the state understands the court ruling that there's one, and the court's ruling may be the same on this at the bottom of 1013. He says, can you sell me some for cheap? You have 2 sticks and about 5 pistols. And then Mr. Ryan says, for sure, there's other, we're going to be getting into photographs and videos of firearms, but so the state felt that was significant in terms of the number of firearms and also, but the murder involves both what would be referenced as a stick or a longer assault rifle and a handgun. No indication, obviously, from this specific text thread that he's talking about the weapons involved in the homicide. This is almost 30 days before then, but nonetheless, the state understands the court's previous rulings about firearms, but that specific.
Shows his access to firearms like the ones used in the murder?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, I'll actually permit the admission of that one.
And the state cannot, thank you, Your Honor, will not use 1012 when he's talking about a different firearm, and
All
we
right.
use 1013.
Okay. And then does 1014 go with it as well, or is that some new thread? Y'all don't need that one, right? It'll just be page 1013?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
Judge, I want to go back to 1013.
Sure.
This conversation is free Juju saying he wants these guns, which the state is saying, are consistent with what were used. And Mr. Ryan's response first is for sure, but I think that's supposed to be a response to the prior. The conversation is, give me a gun, B-word.
Uh-huh.
And then free Juju sends this other, give me these ones for cheap XYZ.
Right.
Mr. Ryan says, for show, I think that's actually referring back to the give me a gun in general, because his next response is, I don't sell FYE no more. And then free Juju says, when you get 2, just give me 1. And we don't have a response from Mr. Ryan saying, okay, yes, I'll do that. He's actually saying, no, I don't have those guns.
Well, he's not saying, no, I don't have those guns. So the ruling stands.
That's 1013 and 14.
Well, my understanding was that they were just going to use 1013. Do you want 1014 in?
I was just trying to make sure I got the right pages.
Well, all right. Let me
That's correct, Your Honor.
It's just 1013?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. What's our next one?
We took out 1036 and 1039. Your Honor, if the next 2 pages were 10. It's just 1039.
I'm sorry, Judge, to back up, if 1012 and 1013 are coming in, then we would want 1014.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So my understanding was it would just be 1013.
Yes, Your Honor, you are correct.
Then we would like 1014 to come in because it completes the conversation of, I don't sell that anymore.
Okay. So 1013 and 1014.
do you think
Your Honor,
going
we're
through?
withdrawing, oh, I look at over. We're withdrawing 1036 and 1039.
And Your Honor, the court's version just currently has 1039.
Okay. And y'all are withdrawing that. Okay.
Yes, Your
So
Honor.
then that takes us to 1070. Is there, which I guess would be 1070 through 1073.
The next objection we have is starting on page 1109.
All right. All right.
1109 and 1110, this is largely a conversation with somebody else. And I don't think without knowing if that's some sort of a co-conspirator that this is relevant. And I also don't think the relevance of this conversation is evident or has any relevance unless there's someone who's going to get up and say, this is what this person means when they say this. So that's going to be 11:09 and 11:10.
So, Your Honor, there's multiple things going on here. In terms of 11:09, this person says, he tells Mr. Ryan, hey, Slime, you need to check out this person. He's my brother. I'm trying to scare him. And then Mr. Ryan says, does he say he's Slime? As in, like, is he claiming YSL? And then he says, how? And then the guy responds like, yes, he is, but he's my brother. And this thread goes on, and he says, the person who started this conversation says to Mr. Ryan, I just want you to scare him, which the state takes as not, do something more violent to him for if he's really not Slime, and he's claiming that. And then the bottom of 11:10 is a separate relevant portion where Scarface is Demekion Garlington. And when that Instagram handle, it says slap this SB, what's up? The state believes that SB is the nickname for Mr. Stillwell. And so that specific bottom portion of 11:10 is a separate reason in this thread. And then they have a video call with one another. And so there's two things going on, and the state can not utilize, so.
The top part.
No. Of course, that was wrong.
So, and Your Honor, the part of what's behind this is, like, for example, Mr. Sledge, who's testified before this court, he's on the stand saying anyone can be Slime, the judge, the state, whoever. And so this is a private conversation where it's clearly a problem that someone is publicly saying that they're Slime, because Mr. Ryan is saying, like, he says he's Slime, how? And the person who's telling Mr. Ryan about this says, I just want you to scare him, which the follow on to that is like, don't do something more. So that's why the state feels it's important, is there's a differentiation. Not every, there is people that are Slime, there's people who aren't. And so, and it's a problem if you're saying you are and you are not.
Okay.
But there's no response from Mr. Ryan saying, yes, I'll do it, or I don't know what you're talking, there's no response. This is someone else saying these things about whether he's going to scare him or do something like that.
And Your Honor, I have removed other threads, but I believe this ultimately gets to the point where he says, and I'll try to find where this is. There's a message where Mr. Ryan says, like, what do you want me to do? Kill him? Like, and so I'm pretty sure in my mind I don't have that included, because the state's trying to be judicial with what we include, but I'll try to find where that is. So it's not, because my thread is only what we're intending to use. But I want to double check, but that is my memory, so I'll verify that right now, Your Honor.
Okay, well, assuming that that's the ultimate response, they can add that response, or we could have an understanding that there is a response that affirms that he's willing to do something.
I'll have to check, Judge, because those
Okay.
pages aren't in here.
Your Honor,
The microphone.
I have a
popcorn.
concern with this matter, and maybe I'm just not as tech savvy. We're seeing towards the bottom of the page the initials SB show up.
Yeah.
And Mr. Atkins, I appreciate him being clear on this. I'm being told anyways by the state that this SB conversation, whoever's involved, is a separate thread, is what I heard from the
Yeah, I
discussion
haven't
about.
gotten clarity on that, so let's, I
Well-
think I'm as untech savvy as you. So is the person who's saying this SB what up able to see this other conversation?
No, Your Honor. And so to accurate, with Instagram, there's a text thread ID, so they give a specific number.
Yeah.
So if I'm texting Joe Smith, and then a second later, someone else texts me, and me and Mr. Smith keep texting back and forth.
Yeah.
Each thread, you have to search the number. So
Okay.
this is a completely separate, it's almost like getting a whole other text message.
Okay. Is that why some things are in yellow and some things are in green highlighting?
Yes, Your Honor.
Show that this is a different thread?
That, and to also help be clear for both the state defense and the court of what portions, because you're always going to have, for the most part, random conversations in
Right.
one page.
Okay.
And so there will be no evidence or inference or argument that what we were just talking about has any connection with this Scarface slap, this SB what's up, and then the video called Mr. Ryan. Those are independent.
So when the state's presenting their case, I'm just trying to think through this. If this is say that over objection, the part we just discussed involving Mr. Ryan and I just want to scare him part. Say that's for example, that's admitted, and then the lower part involving slap this SB what's up is admitted. When we're publishing to the jury, is this going to be like printed out as two different exhibits with two different text chains, or are we the state's plan to just publish this document and then this jury kind of is supposed to figure it out? I'm trying to understand where we're going with this.
No, Your Honor, we would have the witness distinguish that with Instagram, there are different text conversations, so this is a separate conversation. We can ask that very
All right,
specifically.
y'all need to just make that very clear that, because, I'm sure, well, I'm not sure, but there might be jurors who are as untech savvy or unsocial media savvy as Mr. Shart and I, and so
And
we
we
need
can
to
highlight
make
it
it
differently.
very clear that this is an entirely separate conversation, that the one who says the SB is in no way, seeing or involved in that other conversation. Yes, all right.
Your Honor, back to the part about the conversation, I'm brother, what do you want me to do, kill him? The response about killing somebody is a different conversation with a different person.
So, Your Honor, I was just control Fing to find where this is. So we haven't gotten there yet, but a couple pages after this is another conversation where Mr. Ryan is talking with someone else, saying that someone's not official. And then he says, he's not. Do you want me to kill him? So that's why I prefaced what I was saying to the court. I want to verify this, but it
Okay.
is,
It's
we're
a
going to
different
get to this.
conversation?
It's a couple pages from where we are.
But is it
currently.
the same two people?
No, it's a different conversation where he's discussing someone who is or is not slime. So I apologize for that. It's 2 or 3 pages after where we are.
Yeah, the conversation about the brother, that has no response from.
Okay, well then, if this next conversation is showing the same thing, and this is more clear, use the next conversation and withdraw the.
Yes, Your Honor.
Or I'll grant the objection, so.
Understood, Your Honor.
Okay.
We would then just be intending to introduce the part between where it says, hey, this is SB,
Okay.
which would also eliminate the problem we were just discussing.
Okay,
I'm sorry, I missed that last part.
so basically the objection would be granted as to that first part of the conversation, so they're going to withdraw that and for that purpose. So I guess when we see it in trial, nothing will be highlighted other than the, this SB, what's up, and then the video indicator. With that. So would that take care of the potential confusion issue?
Well,
Seems-
I have a confusion issue and then I have a relevance issue.
Okay.
As I understand these records, and I'm focusing on the part that says SB because that's allegedly something my client goes by.
Okay.
Is that
Have
better?
a good one, Steph. Enjoy
Better.
the ZD.
All right,
Yum.
so, thank you. So, as I understand these records indicating, someone types or texts this SB, what's up, slat this SB, what's up? And that the author is showing Scarface because that's a device that's being used on Twitter, is that?
Your Honor, so it appears that, I will assume for the purpose of this conversation, that Mr. Garlington and Mr. Stillwell might be together. And so maybe he took Mr. Garlington's phone or was on his Instagram page, and maybe he didn't have his phone and he needed to talk to Mr. Ryan. And so Mr. Stillwell takes Garlington's phone, goes on his Instagram account, direct messages Mr. Ryan and says, hey, because I'm Instagramming you from Garlington's account, this SB, hit me up or whatever. I think he said,
Okay.
hit my line in a few minutes. And so I think that is probably what occurred.
And then, okay, so by the state's theory, Shannon is on Demekian's Twitter and says.
Instagram, right?
Instagram, yes, I'm sorry, thank you. And says something to Ryan, and then afterwards, there's some video call of an unknown duration.
Correct.
Is that, okay.
Correct.
I'm going to object to, I understand that it's being separated from
Right.
other discussions, but that in and of itself, I'm going to object for relevance grounds. I don't think there's an issue at this point whether Mr. Ryan and Mr. Stillwell know each other or Mr. Stillwell and Mr. Garlington know each other. So, I mean, there's no content to any of this. It's just some sort of connection.
You're right. I don't believe, and I'll double check. I don't believe we have any evidence of
Mr. Ryan and
Mr. Ryan and Mr. Stillwell. We have a picture that I think is in dispute, but outside of this picture that we believe is in dispute of if the other individual in that there's a picture on Mr. Stillwell's page that said, and it says me and him, but there's a dispute as to whether the individual is Mr. Stillwell or not. And so outside of that picture, this is what we have to show
I
association.
mean, at least
Okay.
as far as since I've been here, I don't think we've had that evidence.
Okay, well, I'm going to say that picture that the state's referring to is definitely not Mr. Stillwell.
Okay,
So,
so- All right.
okay, so, and just getting back to, I'm just trying to fully understand, the text before,
Yes,
the state is no longer wishing to admit those,
correct,
about scaring him,
correct.
and so when this is
On,
brought in front of the jury, this
will,
should be-
will it still be on there even though not highlighted? Is that the question?
Yes.
Because we're not bringing in the top of the other
Right.
thread, we will probably still highlight it, 'cause I think for ease of the jurors being able to see the conversation, we will probably, yes. we
No,
will.
no, no. What I am asking and what Mr. Shard is asking is when page 1110 gets presented, the only thing highlighted will be slat this SB, what's up, Scarface, and then video call event. But will the rest of the text above that
Hey guys, can you see and hear me? I'm using StreamYard on my phone. So my internet looks like it's echoing. So my internet is not working after resetting. And Spectrum, last time we had an outage, they said we weren't in an outage until like 30 minutes later. They finally said, yes, we are actually in a neighborhood outage. So I'm assuming it's widespread, like a tree that was hanging on from the hurricane maybe fell and knocked it out. So sorry. I think it's probably best to, rather than have you guys waiting around, call this one quits. So sorry that that happened. That really sucks. And I don't want to leave you guys lingering. Thank you. I see here that Keely had given a super sticker. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And it was great to have you in the live chat with us today. And also to Chloe, probably what occurred, ? The transcript of this trial is going to be the form of a pick your own adventure book, right? You got to go to page 36 or 336 for the next adventure. So thank you so much for the super chats. I didn't want to miss them. I think I've gotten one more from Elizabeth here. Yeah, I didn't get this one. So wonder what the over under is of the jurors finding out a way out of the trial for the holidays. They're going to know what those December plea agreements dropping on tables feel like. You know, they want to be with their families. Right. And this would be the second holiday season for them. This would be the second holiday season. So thank you so much, Elizabeth Wright, for the super and the food for thought. And Chloe said it's like Love and Hilton work for Spectrum too. So I am probably getting a backup battery pack, which is going to be great for power issues. But you guys keep recommending Starlink, and I think a backup like Starlink would be great in a moment like this. So that's probably on my shopping list for this week as well. We will have to see. And yes, it is Spectrum. And like, you know, even when there's no bad weather, sometimes this has happened before. So who knows what it is. Let's do that. Do you guys, right before we close out, do you guys have anywhere you want to shout out to go watch something? Everyone says we're going to go watch football. Don't forget to do the nose wipe. We go straight to page 403. Okay, shout out to the Starlink vouch. I'm probably going to order one. And it's so close. And speaking of like SpaceX, whatever they did, I don't really know the details of it, but they caught the rocket as it came back down. That was so cool to watch. That was a super cool video to see today. So I guess I'll look into some Starlink. Okay, and check the terms and conditions. Always, always a good piece of advice. But yeah, sorry we're getting to day 142 late, and now we're cutting it halfway short. If the internet comes back on or they give an ETA for the outage, we can finish it later on today. Other than that, I don't know. I can't really. Oh, a Saints player has already done the nose wipe today. So shout out to Peter Steele for the observation there. And then Hella. Okay. Oh, wait, it's Sunday. So you're right. Hearsay for days and 4 p.m. Eastern probably sounds about right. So guys, Excited Utterance. We call her Hella sometimes, but really her channel name is Excited Utterance. I don't know if I can really grab the link real quick on my phone. Maybe I can. Can you guys see me? Like, I'm going to switch to YouTube to grab her link. It might not show my camera for a second. Okay, so did the link go? I don't know. When I sent the link, StreamYard like closed on me on my phone. But I think we got a link there. So there you go, you guys. That will be at 4 p.m., so just 20 minutes away. I'll see you guys over there or whenever we resume. And now the part 2 of 142. You guys have a good one, and sorry again. Take care, everybody.